Welcome back to our channel. My name is Jasmine.
And I'm Dave.
And this is Engineered by God, where we navigate life from a Christian perspective. And today we are going to talk about hating people. And we are going to challenge you when it comes to hating people.
So it is inevitable. If you're online, you are bound to come across clips like this.
All white people are racist. So I put this up because I really want any white person in the room to know up front that this is what we're dealing with. I'm not going to discuss, maybe some of us have worked it out. No, you're always going to be racist, actually. I believe that white people are born into not being human.
And Colin, how dare you sit there and blame white people for the problems of minority communities? After all, aren't you half white? Didn't two white parents adopt you after yours weren't willing to raise you?
When you hear about slavery for 400 years, that sounds like a choice. Like, you was there for 400 years and it's all of y'all?
So I'm saying whiteness isn't a negative thing, and there's something that and that whiteness actually shouldn't be constructed as all negative. Name something positive about that you believe is positive about being white.
Sorry, Your Majesty, but I only drink yang yang dong 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 ming ming. Milk. Milk.
Fish.
Okay, I got it.
This is what happens when you attempt to leave high school a year early to join the NBA. So keep the political commentary to yourself, or as someone once said, shut up and dribble.
And so after you see something like that, no matter what side you fall on, like, you can go from really just having a difference of opinion with someone to strongly disliking, if not borderline hating them, because you feel like they're attacking you as an individual, depending on how you feel about whatever the topic is. And the thing is, when you go to social media, you find nothing but reinforcement for those feelings. Like, you're gonna find a ton of people who say this person is trash. You are right. We all hate this person in unity, and it's like, yo, that's not really a good spot to be in, especially as Christians.
Right. So what do you do? Like when you're experiencing those things and when you just want to join in the hate comments in the comment section? No, we never done that. Don't
Ever.
do that.
Comment section.
But so how do we navigate this? Because I think that was a big thing that happened, especially during the quarantine. We're indoors and we're seeing a lot of stuff being thrown at us over social media. And so I think that we just have to make sure that we are, like we say on this channel a lot, holding ourselves to a different standard than the rest of the world has. Because like Dave said, the rest of the world, for them, it's like, yeah, you're right to not like them. You're right to want to cancel them. You're right to say that they are a terrible person because of this perspective that they have that's different than you, right?
But I can already hear people saying, we are not talking about not holding people accountable. If you do something, there are consequences for your actions, or you say something, like, there's going to be consequences. But we're talking about something a little bit deeper, specifically as Christians, our hearts towards other people who we may see as enemies. Because, Jesus told us to love our enemies. And, like, what? Go ahead.
I think, a good example of that, a good thing to have in your mind when you think about loving your enemies is, picturing Jesus on the cross as he's looking on to the people who are responsible for crucifying
who are literally killing him.
And he's like, Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And, we getting mad over some words, and they were killing him, and he's saying this. So, I think that's a good example of how we should approach it.
And here's the thing: even if they did not realize the magnitude of what they were doing was still wrong. And he's not waiting for them to realize, oh, I'm wrong, to forgive them. He's forgiving them before it, in the act. You know what I mean? And the thing is, like, in the same way that fill it in the blank has offended you deeply, we have all offended God in the same way. And God met our offense with his love. He sent us his son to give us an example as how we should live with one another, being gracious and compassionate, yet still following the will of the Father ultimately. And so, like, as Christians, we gotta check ourselves. We gotta check, because when we're joining into this mob mentality of, hey, this person is trash, and maybe their actions are trash, maybe they are wrong, but having a heart that's full of hatred and like just anger, that's just not Christ-like at all.
Right. And I just want to give you an example of this because, you know, we all have our opinions, and I think especially for maybe a lot of minorities may have felt this, but, you know, during the election with Trump and everything, I think that the Make America Great Again kind of slogan for a lot of minorities represented, and, you know, people in the majority represented people who hate you, who hate minorities, who hate the other, right? And so when you see these flags, it's like automatically, oh, I don't want to be associated with that person. I don't want to talk to that person. That person must be terrible. Automatically. And we didn't even know these people. And I think we live in a neighborhood where we saw a lot of those signs. And we had to challenge ourselves, like we said before, to be like, we don't know them.
Guys,
we know nothing about them.
I'm just going to be real. At this point, we weren't challenging ourselves. Honestly, we were just falling into, hey, we just not going to bang with you. Like, we're just not going to and that's not how God has called us to live in any way. Because if anyone could decide not to bang with someone, it's God saying, yo, I'm not messing with none of y'all humans down there.
None of y'all all trash.
And instead he's like, you know what, I love you guys so much that I'm going to give you the best that I have.
Right.
And it's like, I'm saying I'm following that example, but I can't like greet my neighbor because he votes differently. Like, how does that make sense?
Right. So, I mean, it's hard. It's hard. And I think that, you know, we really have to, I don't know where I'm going.
Well, I know where we're going. Because here's the thing too. I think what happens is when we do something, we want to get some type of validation that what we're doing is right. And so like when you are showing love to people who should be unlovable to you, like the world's gonna look at you like you crazy. Like what are you doing? Like you look like a coon or a sellout, whatever the term that they're gonna throw at you is. But that's not who the validation that's not whose validation we should be seeking. It's God's. You know what I mean? Like he's calling us to love our enemies and to be like him and be humble and put and consider others before ourselves. And so like, yeah, we're gonna look crazy to people. When you live out the Christian life fully, you're not gonna look normal to the world, but you're gonna be doing what God wants you to be doing.
You want to know something funny? I think that, you know, one thing that always checks me is when we're watching a TV show, right? And this one character has done something terrible to the other character. And I'm like, no, that character needs to get it. Like, you need to give it to that character. And then that character, who's not even Christian maybe, most of the time, they respond with kindness or they respond in love. And I'm like, dang, Jasmine.
Right.
Look at you. Look at your heart right there.
Right.
That's who you are. It's so challenging because I'm like, they're not even Christian and they're doing it better than you. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think, what does it look like when we want to respond in love? What does that look like for you?
I mean, I don't know. I think I don't know practically, because I think in my circles, the people that I hang around, they are similar. Like I'm not hanging around my enemies, you know, I would consider my enemies to be. But I think what it starts off is not assuming or looking at people or branding someone as a certain thing without knowing them. And even if they are not, you know, whatever I think they should be, I understand that they are still a child of God. They're still made in the image of God. They are still worthy of respect, love, kindness. Christ died for them. You know what I mean? So who am I to think that I can look down on them as if they're not as good as me or something like that? So I think it starts with having a heart of love towards everyone, literally no everyone, right?
No matter what they do, being able to accept them and not accuse them of being terrible, of being wrong, of being bad.
It's not. We're not saying if someone does something bad, hey, just let them go off. No.
You can hold someone accountable and still love your enemy.
Right,
like,
because
you know what I mean?
Because the cross is love, but it's also justice. Like guys, like, hey, we got to deal with this sin. Like, well, I'm not letting that off the hook. You know what I mean? So, like, you still have that to deal with, but nonetheless, it's still having a heart of love. Ultimately, not to, you know, be walking around angry all the time, hating people all the time.
And just wanting to be quick to respond negatively, respond sharply, curse people out. Oof, yeah.
But listen, we know you at some point today or tomorrow, whenever you're gonna run across something that's gonna just But check your heart. Check your heart and decide not to just allow that hate or anger to just fill you up, but instead just respond with love, right?
Yes, yes. I was gonna say instead allow yourself to be
engineered by God. Look at that.
There we go. There we go. Let the Holy Spirit check you. But yeah, that's it for us. We would really like to know maybe an experience that you had where you know, maybe you didn't respond right when someone offended you or was nasty to you, and what you wish you would have done, or maybe, you know, that did happen, someone was nasty to you, and how you responded with love, and maybe what happened. That'd be great to know. I know that's a lot to comment, but or if you agree, just give us a thumbs up, like the video, and subscribe for more videos, and ring the notification bell if you want to know every time we post a new video. But that's it for us.
See ya.